We're back.
Today we're going to be talking about the movie Pretty in Pink again.
So as we said in the last video, these characters can be related to real life people in the 1980s and reveal the truths in the 1980s. So basically in the 1980s, the whole idea shifted to individual success and materialism. Everyone was ranked by their money, their talents, their capabilities, and their success. The article American History, the 1970s and the 1980s says, what is the most important to Americans these days? And an economic teacher from the United States teaching in the UK said, earning money. And then another quote from American History in the 1970s and 1980s is, for many in the 1980s, society's hero was the person who helped himself. Success seemed to be measured only by how much money a person made. This can be, again, related back to the movie because of how much money Blaine and all his friends make. And they're all popular because they make money, but Andy is poor because she does not make a lot of money. And this is also where the American dream started, that everyone wanted to be successful and everyone wanted to be like perfectly materialistic.
So throughout the movie, Andy and Blaine are both trying to achieve the American dream, and the director purposely adds these characters to help connect the movie to the real world and what real people are trying to achieve. And many teenagers in the 1980s have similar clothing style, and like the yuppies, who are the rich people, they have very plain and simple, clean and fancy looks. And Andy's outfits are all handcrafted, and that makes her viewed as being poor. So one of the main reasons that Andy and her dad struggled was because of the recession that was happening during the 1980s. And one of the quotes is, by early 1982, the United States was experiencing its worst recession since the Great Depression. 9 million people were unemployed in November of that year. Businesses closed, families lost their homes, and farmers lost their land. Many people in the real world suffered like they did in the movie, and that helps connect the two together.
It can be viewed in the next scene what the wealthy look looks like compared to the poor look, and it shows that Blaine doesn't think that Andy's outfits that she normally wears are like acceptable and can be shown in public with him and his friends.
Oh, he was a friend of mine. I've known him since I was a kid. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like him a lot.
So, you want to go home and change?
I like him. I already did.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So Blaine didn't think that Andy would end up wearing that outfit out with his friends. He thought she was just wearing that to work, and she believed that her outfit was acceptable, while Blaine didn't think that, and he wasn't used to that kind of clothing. So Andy and Blaine had different standards of what they're going to wear because they grew up in two different worlds.
According to the book, The 1980s, it says that the portrayal of yuppies in the films of the 1980s reflects society's growing unease with the materialistic aspects of American culture. So basically what this is saying is that the yuppies are rising in society and they're not going unnoticed, and everyone else is like becoming aware of this rise and like becoming aware of the new trends, which are called the yuppies.
Another quote that we had was by the New Class Society, and it says, since the 1980s, the wealthy have been living increasingly segregated lives from the general population to secure those advantages. And basically, yuppies were trying to live different lives than the less wealthier people in the United States, and Andy and Blaine contradict this because they eventually end up together, so like this helps diminish the separation between them.
So this difference in wealth drove a huge line in between people in the 1980s, and in this case it's love between Andy and Blaine. Andy just can't forget this difference between her and Blaine, even though she's falling in love with him. There's still a big difference that she can't forget, and she tells her dad that Blaine is a Richie and that she's not.
His name's Blaine, and he's a senior. He's so beautiful. He's a Richie.
What'y?
A Richie. It's kind of stupid. It's just his family has a lot of money.
Oh, well, is that a problem?
I don't know, it's just weird. You know, his friends have a lot of money, and he has a lot of money. He drives a BMW. I don't know. I'm not really sure if they're gonna accept me.
So in this scene, Andy is basically worried and talking to her dad, and she's like saying that she doesn't know if her and Blaine will end up together. So basically, Andy is worried about being accepted into Blaine's world and his atmosphere and like being around his friends. And this relates to the real world because many people have that problem. So the director incorporates this scene to help show that Andy has worries about the future and what is ahead for her and Blaine.
So Blaine's friends also notice this difference in wealth between Blaine and Andy. And in the scene we're about to show up next, Steph, whom is Blaine's best friend, tells Blaine that no one's going to accept Blaine and no one's going to like Blaine after he chooses to be with Andy.
I thought that was very uncool of you last night, Blaine.
What?
What?
You mean Andy?
Yeah, I mean Andy.
What's a big deal? I like her. Matter of fact, I was pissed off at you guys for being so nasty to her.
It was way out of order for you to foist her on the party.
Steph, you hear yourself? You hear the same asshole shit I hear?
What, do I have to spell it out for you, Blaine?
I guess so.
Nobody appreciates your sense of humor, you know? As a matter of fact, everybody's just about to puke from you. You know, if you got a hard-on for trash, don't take care of it around us, pal, all right?
Right, buddy.
Listen, I don't need a lot of shit on this one, Blaine, all right? I really don't.
Money all that matters to you.
Where the hell does that come from? Come on, look around you. Would I treat my parents' house like this if money was any kind of issue? Come on, why are you doing this, you know? Why don't you just nail her and get it over with? You know, why are you getting involved?
Is there something wrong with that?
I just think it's stupid, you know? It's pointless. You know? And your parents, I think they'll be thrilled.
They have nothing to do with it.
Really?
Yeah.
So basically, this shows that Steph doesn't want to be associated with Andy in that kind of world.
So basically in the movie, Blaine's friends categorized Andy and like put her on like a spectrum. And this was a very common thing to do in the 1980s. So in the article, Social Classes America, it says, the American dream is based on a system of meritocracy where individuals are rewarded based on their individual efforts and abilities. It categorizes people and implies that you get out of the system whatever you put into it. So basically, the amount of work you get into, the more work you put into the system, the higher up on the spectrum you'll be.
Going along with this idea, another quote that we found from Social Class in America is, the American dream asserts that anyone can succeed so long as they work hard to exercise their own talents and capabilities. It emphasizes a direct link between individual effort and success in an open, merit-based system and attracts most people to this country in the first place. So this is basically saying that people in the 1980s thought that your worth was how much money you made and your education that you did. And the director in Pretty in Pink showed this by having like a rich and cute teenager boy, because this shows that all you care about in the 1980s was your wealth and having like the party.
So we hope this video has helped you realize that the 1980s was not easy and not a dream, and that everyone was based on standards and put on spectrums that drove a line between the society and made two very separate worlds. And then in the movie, Blaine was living in one world while Andy was living in another, and they were both trying to unite their two worlds and be together because they were in love.